ELEX is about a meteor hitting Magaland, which causes all of the incels to start smoking rock. The resulting rock smoking got them ideas. Ideas of evolving stronger chins and Chad-like bodies so they would become the ultimate autists, the Alan Turings of genocide. Until one of them, the commander of Chad Squad, Jax, gets a tan and starts believing in himself.
Alright.
Have you ever played Gothic and thought to yourself,
damn, look at them titties!
You know, this game would be great if it had guns and a jetpack? Amish militant hippies, edgelord redditors who found a nuclear weapon.
Whatever you said to William was bull.
Evangelicals who found God and God was like, ew, gay, get off me. Hey lady, hey, well, hold up. I need to talk to you real quick. Have you accepted Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior? ELEX is so much more than Gothic with guns, but it's also very much just Gothic with guns. It's both a bad game and a great game at the same time until you play it and collapse the waveform. Is the combat clunky? Oh yeah, it's clunky alright. Does it take forever to kill stuff? Oh, it takes the longest time. Did every critic for every major outlet give the game bad reviews because Too Hard didn't play?
If you've ever been on a date with someone who seems really interesting and pleasant at first, but then goes on tirades about lizard people or how the Illuminati faked the moon landing, you have some understanding of my love-hate relationship with ELEX.
Damn, yo, who the is this guy dating? That's right, folks. It's a Piranha Bytes game, and it's better than anyone gives it credit for. But not by much. And this game is rough around the edges. I mean, it's lumpy as hell. But I can at least show you how to get through the game without having a brain hemorrhage. So, is there anything redeemable about this game? Let's dig in and find out, shall we?
Hey, and while we're at it, could you go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, comment, do everything you can. Share the video with your friends, your family, your loved ones, your dog, your cats. Why? Because YouTube's not going to do it. So you got to. And while you're there, if you want to support this channel and you want to see more of this kind of stuff and you want me to continue going on, go to the Patreon. Patreon's the only way I can keep this thing going. This video took over 2 months to do, and there was a lot of work that went into it, hundreds of hours, and it was the only way I was able to support myself in that time is through Patreon. Okay, so if you want me to continue doing videos of this quality and this length, hit me up on Patreon, kick me $1, or give me everything in your wallet. I don't care, I want it all.
Look out!
Haha. You dumb? Oh my god, you don't walk into the mines. You should play on normal difficulty. Why? It's not just because it makes the game easier or harder. Oh, no. It's actually because you want to maintain your sanity. Come the f on. If you aren't into hitting enemies so many times that you wear down the buttons on your controller, you might even want to play on easy. Difficulty, as far as I can tell, doesn't change anything other than how many hits it takes to kill an enemy and how many hits they need to kill you. So, on easy, imagine going from needing to hit an enemy at your level 4 times to kill them, to on the hardest difficulty, needing to hit them 19 times. And trust me when I say this, anything that isn't at your level becomes like trying to bore a hole through brick walls with a canteen spoon. It took that guy from Shawshank like 5 years and many ass poundings to do that, okay? And it took me about as long to kill a mass rat in ELEX on the highest difficulty. Don't do that to yourself. There's also some AI changes with the difficulty levels. The menus say that monsters become more aggressive, but to be honest, I didn't notice any difference in aggressiveness. They seem to be just as aggressive no matter the difficulty, and the only thing that appears to change in an obvious way is the amount of damage they do. So a rot boar might one-shot you on Ultra, but on normal it'll take him 3 to 4 hits. The other thing I notice is that hits don't seem to blow through your block as often on lower difficulties, which is a good thing, because block is our friend in this game. It's our best friend, because man, these enemies have no friggin' tells on some of their attacks, and you basically gotta be psychic at times to dodge their attacks. I timed this out, and on a rot boar's attack there's about 31 frames total from the time the rot boar roars to the time the attack lands. But from wind up to swing to hit, there's only about 10 frames. Your roll has about 40 frames, which might tell you have more than enough frames to dodge just about any attack, but this game can be very inconsistent.
What?
The enemy's hitboxes are as weird as they are wide, so unless you're using your iframes to dodge, chances are you're getting hit. And even if you dodge the attack, there's no guarantee the enemy won't hit you with a follow-up, because sometimes the enemy will attack you immediately after you attack them, and they will do so without a tell or a wind-up, Just a 10 frame attack animation that most people won't be able to dodge without getting into a rhythm by hitting once, dodging, hit once, dodging, and so on until you run out of stamina and get hit. Now, whether you live or die in this backstepping playstyle is too up to RNG in my opinion, and since this video is aimed at first time players, we're going to be aiming for the most consistent experience possible. If you dodge away from the enemy like you might do in a Dark Souls game, the enemy's follow-up attack will come so quick that you can't dodge the next attack before your dodge roll finishes, because remember, your dodge roll has 40 frames and the enemy's attack only has 10 or so their follow-up is guaranteed to hit you. Not to mention that if you're always rolling away from them, you'll never be within range for a follow-up attack. So the next logical thing to do is to dodge roll into the attack, and for the most part this is pretty reliable. You do this just like you would do in Dark Souls. When the enemy attack seems to be coming towards you, you dodge into it, and then you end up on the other side of them. But this comes with its own set of problems. First, doing this will half the time put you out of position of a counterattack, and second of all, the enemy will sometimes do this snap turn and follow up with one of those no-tell attacks, which will usually hit you in the middle of your first dodge. This only seems to happen when you attack them in between dodges, so that means you either stay alive or you kill. But doing both seems to come with random success. Then there's times when you've clearly dodged an attack and the enemy still hits you from a country mile away. Blocking is one of the most consistent ways of negating an enemy's attack, but it will not block a running attack. So if you see an enemy running at you and leaping, you gotta dodge into them. So you really have to make use of both mechanics. But having a shield doesn't mean anything if we can't kill things, so we always prioritize attack power over everything else. For every level up, you get 10 attribute points to distribute, but those points become less effective the higher your attribute scores go up. So for instance, at 31 points in strength, you go from a 1-to-1 conversion to a 2-to-1 conversion, meaning 2 points for every 1 attribute point. And after that, it's 5 points. 5 for every 1. You only get 10 per level. So that means if you wanted an attribute to go up, say, 10 points, then that's right. You'd need to gain 5 levels to do that. And people are always saying how you're not supposed to go melee in this game. And you know, I didn't believe them at first. I went melee, and then I got this axe, right? And the axe had requirements of like 70 points in one stat and 90 in another. I did the math and I was like, I will never gain enough points in that attribute in order to use this weapon. In fact, if you're not using ranged to do all your combat in this game, you're doing it wrong. You're just plain old doing it wrong. That's a fact. The attribute requirement bloat in this game is ridiculous. So stacking nothing but strength and dex isn't terribly viable because where you get the most bang for your buck is with the ability system. You get 1 learning point per level, and instead of putting points into ability scores just so you can use the bestest new weapon available, you'll really want to find the perks that increase the things you need. So, for example, a melee guy wants attack power, obviously, stamina, and maybe hit points. And investing in those perks require intelligence, cunning, and constitution. Not to mention that some of the berserker spells are just nasty, like being able to permanently enchant your weapon with an elemental damage aura, or a spell that buffs your weapon attack by 50 points, which, trust me, that's an insane amount. So if this is your first time through the game, you might want to pick those perks and invest your attributes in a way that allows you to rapidly buy your perks as soon as possible, but don't! That's a trap. Melee is a trap. Really? Really? He hit me while he was on the other side of the table. What you really want to do is race your way through the berserker ranks so that you can get your first magical fist. And the first magical fist that you're going to want to pick is the poison fist. You might be thinking, poison? Poison sucks in every game I've ever played. Not in this one, baby. Here's what the poison fist does. The first attack is this big glob that you send out that does AoE damage, and not only AoE damage, but then also a dot. And it does super high damage. It does almost as much damage as the fireball. And then the second is a even bigger AoE cloud. That one's not as useful. The one where you're gonna get the most use is this 10 mana point cost bee shooter. That's right, you could shoot bees out your fingertips, man. And when the bees hit an enemy, it don't matter what they're made out of. Are they made out of flesh? They're gonna get stunned. Are they made out of robotic parts? They're gonna get stunned. It don't make no goddamn sense, and guess what? It don't need to. It's awesome. You're shooting bees, alright? Don't question it. And listen, I'm not just saying this for the memes, okay? There is no better option in this game than ranged. You do not want to engage with this game on its level. This game actually doesn't even have a level. It's dirty, it's underhanded. It'll pull out every dirty, nasty little trick that it's got when you engage with it in melee. And sometimes even when you're engaging it with it at ranged, you really can't help but succumb to the jank of this game. So to minimize the pain, to minimize it to the littlest amount that you can, you gotta engage this game in ranged. Don't fall for the melee trap. It isn't worth it, kids. Just say no. And if all that don't work, I'm going to tell you about another way you could do things. It's called cheating. You ever been playing a game and having a good time, but it keeps kicking your ass up and down the street, and you just thought to yourself, you know, this game would be a lot better if it just played itself. Oh! Well, boy, do I got an exploit for you, and it's one of the good ones. It's one of those ones where you wonder, how the hell is it even possible that this is in this game? One of those exploits that just make you say to yourself, why?
Why?
Who?
Why?
How?
Why?
What?
What?
Alright, now let's say you're broke. You're trying to buy that armor, but that armor wants too much money, and you spent all your ELEX on ether rags.
Give you an arm rub.
You may be thinking that you're gonna have to go out into the wild and earn money, like some kind of filthy commoner. Toil, do work, be respectful of your coworkers, and stop making inappropriate gestures with your thumb through the zipper of your pants. Screw that. My official motto is, if I gotta put on underwear to do my job, that's not a job, that's slavery. What you do is you go to a vendor, make sure you only buy items that have up to 1 to 3 stacks, that way the menu to split the item doesn't appear, and you spam the buy key and then click the hell out of the D-pad like you have restless body syndrome. Do this until you've bought up all the items in the vendor's inventory. Remember that the trick only works if you're broke. And once you've amassed a small fortune of items that you can't pay for, hit the reset trade button. Currency rains down from the sky. Like a government official trying to keep a hooker silent about a diaper fetish. 54,000. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's right. Infinite money. I mean, like I said, if you'd rather have the gameplay itself, you could do that, but money isn't as important as attributes, because you could buy the best stuff in the game right off the bat if you want, but it don't mean nothing if you can't use the stuff. And I have a way to do that. And it doesn't even require that much work. The first thing you're going to want to do is go over to the Southern Abessa converter. And you're going to want to talk to the Albs there. And upstairs, there's a guy who trades for ELEX. And, yeah, he's got infinite ELEX. And then back in the Berserk town, there's a tavern. And in that tavern is also an infinite amount of alcohol. Now, if you take these two things and you combine them together, do you know what you get? You get ELEX drinks. But you can't do any of that unless you got the chemistry perk. Chemistry is probably the best skill in the game. It actually reminds me a lot of Morrowind's alchemy system, you know, just broken. And you're also going to need the recipes for a small ELEX drink and a regular ELEX drink. And where do you get those? Well, you get them at the same place where you get the chemistry perk. See what I mean? You ain't even got to walk that far. Piranha Bytes has made it very convenient for you to cheat. So you might as well. So what you need to do is have enough ELEX and enough alcohol to make yourself a bunch of small ELEX potions. Then you take that ELEX and you take your ELEX potions and you combine them together to make regular strength ELEX potions. And you know what you get out of that? Well, each one of those potions gives you 2 attribute points. So if you use the infinite money glitch with joint cooperation from the infinite alcohol and ELEX that you can buy, well, I think you see where I'm going with this, right? You could just, you know, skip all that dumb bullshit of grinding out levels and all that garbage. You could just cut all that out and actually enjoy the game. It's up to you though, you know. I wouldn't do that kind of thing because, you know, I'm a gamer.
ELEX offered strength, focus, and stamina. These people called themselves the Albs.
Man, fucking Magaland was great until they tried to join NATO. That was the beginning of the end, man. You start the game by immediately failing to fly without being shot down. Then you fail to exit the ship without getting blown up. Then we get the big, heroic reveal. Oh my god, he's such a handsome man. And that's when we realize that this incel is actually really handsome. And if some lady out here sees his chiseled jawline and that strong manly chin, she's gonna him. And that's when we realized that Jax was never really one of them. He was just cosplaying.
Jax, you failed your mission.
I haven't even started my mission yet.
You know our directive.
Yeah.
There can be only one consequence for failure.
Is it a pizza party? Are we going to Pizza Hut? Because I really like their stuffed crust and cheesy bread. Oh, okay, never mind. While you're laying there, unconscious, this guy comes and steals all our gear, so you won't get to use that swag-ass armor from the cutscene with the twist-top nipples. You'll get rags, and you'll be wearing those rags for a while because this game's idea of pacing is like a long walk through a marathon followed by a sprint at the end. When you wake up, you'll be absolutely amazed by the back of your hands. Like how when he woke up, the first thing he did was take a look at his fingernails, and he was like, ugh, my fingernails, oh my god, my cuticles, they look like shit. Piranha Bytes has a long and storied history of terrible combat. Have you ever played Gothic? It came out about 21 years ago. Some of you hadn't even seen a fallopian tube firsthand yet. Now that game was great. It had an awesome faction system that actually mattered. If you joined one faction over another, it changed the story and the order in which you did things. People would chase you out of their homes with sharp sticks, and if you ran around with a weapon out like some kind of mad bastard, the guards would come and knock you down and take all your stuff. It was like the first time I'd ever played an action game that had this kind of mechanical depth, but its combat could best be described as telling you to download Cheat Engine. It was clunky. You had to hold the space bar and then hit arrow keys in the direction you wanted to swing your weapon, and if you wanted to do a combo, you had to swing the weapon in the opposite direction at just the right time, or your character would sit there as the enemy rammed its beak into your stomach. Now what if I told you that after 21 years, the combat had only gotten slightly better than that? Would you be surprised if I told you to suck it up and live for it because it's actually fun once you get used to it? Just like prison sex. See, I had a plan for that all along. It all comes back in the end. I think we need to talk about this because this is the thing that this game gets criticized the most for, is the combat, right? And it's also the thing that you're going to be doing the most of in the game. So I think it's important for you to understand how the developer intended for this to be experienced, and how if you do it the way the developer intended, if you can divine that reason, then you'll actually like the game. The design is all pretty intentional. Like, I think they absolutely mean for this game to play this way, right? It wasn't like an accident. They didn't miss something in QA. Like, they actually intend for the game to be played this way. Is that a pass for it to play this way? Absolutely not, but I just want you to understand why I can like it and hate it at the same time. Let's take for granted this is true. If it is, then that means they've been trying to teach us the same lesson for a long time. I mean, at least since Gothic 3. And we either haven't learned that lesson yet, or they're just really bad teachers. You know what I mean? It's like they intend to teach us things, but they don't actually do it. I want to talk about these new modern open worlds and kind of explain how they feel to me sometimes. Games used to have a lot of restrictions that were enforced because of technological limitations, right? Not necessarily, artistic limits or anything like that. It was just like the technology wouldn't allow it. And what you ended up having was a more linear experience, but a more directed experience. Something that you can control the fun levels of, right? You can basically control the momentum of how quickly the player progresses through your content and the challenge levels that they feel at every interval within the game. And Piranha Bytes really does seem to care a lot about that, because what they like to do is front load their game with the hardest content that they can. So that way, when you're going through the rest of the game, you feel like a complete badass when you're blowing through these enemies that you just previously were getting one shot by. And it's a really good feeling. It's a really good experience that keeps you going through the rest of the game, which may not be as good. That feeling of accomplishment, that feeling of real tangible growth is things that other games that have level scaling and all that kind of crap, those games feel like they lack. That's the real reason you play this game. But that feeling of achievement comes so late in the game, right, that you got to invest like 10 or 15 hours into it to really start feeling that feeling. And I just don't think that a lot of people are going to wait that long to actually start enjoying a game. You know what I mean? That's a lot to ask of your modern player. Like, game design lately has been feeling like these designers just kind of go about things very laissez-faire, and they think that if they just jam enough different things that other people are doing better than we are, and we just jam enough of those into a game, we'll have like a successful game. And unfortunately it works. It makes these people a lot of money. You know what I mean? Some developers design these games with intentions, right? And those intentions will always be subverted by the player. And sometimes the developer foresees these subversions and puts obstacles in your way because the developer really doesn't want you to play the game that he designed that way, right? Usually the game designer has an experience in mind. Sometimes they want you to blow through an enemy and get a nice little power fantasy feeling going on. And sometimes they want you to run into an enemy like you're running face first into a wall, stopped with violent force. But that type of playstyle feels a lot like you're being forced by the game to not play the way you want to play. Like your parents took away your games so that you would play with all the toys you got for Christmas. So take this clip from Assassin's Creed for example. See, I got this guy, he thinks he knows where I am, and then his AI fails him and he immediately turns away. But then when I try to take him down, the game's like, oh, no. Were you trying to take down a level 12? Nah. See, you're only a level 9. You can't take that guy down. Yeah, I know that you snuck up behind him, and literally every other stealth game allows you to knock a guy out in one hit. This game's not going to allow you to do that, because now it's an RPG, you see? Yeah, it's not a stealth game anymore. It's just it's an RPG. And that means that if you're not at the same level as the other enemy, that means you're weaker than them in every way. So cool, good job. Yeah, fun game. And some of those companies are actually good. It's showing you what they want you to do without completely breaking the immersion of the experience. But Piranha Bytes is not that type of company.
This happened in Risen 2! You didn't learn your fucking lesson!
They tried to teach us this lesson in Gothic 3, and they've been trying to teach us ever since, and we are just not listening. And by we, I include me in that because I didn't hear him either. I was off busy trying to melee everything I saw in ELEX. Here's the lesson. Certain enemies you just don't want to attack with a sword. And that's true. You don't. Some enemies you want to engage at range. I mean, that just makes sense. How are you going to engage in melee with a dragon? Huh? How are you going to do that? It could swallow you. He could literally just take you like he found a bunch of crumbs on the table and just sweep you into his hand and then just scoop you right into his mouth. Just nom, 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 nom. You know what I mean? You're like fast food that delivers itself. That's it. That's all you'd have to do. And you're gonna stand right in front of that guy's mouth with a sword? Really? I don't care how mythically strong your character is, you are not stronger than an 80-foot tall lizard. Do you know what I mean? So your best bet is to hit that thing with arrows, or if there's a dragon in ELEX, you just shoot him in the head with a gun, you know, or a rocket. Yeah, that would definitely euthanize a dragon. Certain enemies you can melee with. Some you really shouldn't. It's like trying to fight an orc with your starter weapon. You know, they got these big giant swords that are the entire length of their body, which is already twice the size of you. I mean, come on, man. Piranha Bytes tries to tell you something while other games definitely come right out and say it. Let's say in another game, you might run into a situation where you've been playing the game one way, right? Let's say that you roll away from every enemy that tries to engage in melee with you, and then as soon as you finish rolling, you hit them, and then you roll away again, right? And you get into a pattern like that. Well, the designer knows you're doing that. They might even be trying to get you to do that so that you get into a bad habit, so that when you run into that enemy that punishes you for doing that by charging forward and hitting you, you'll know like, oh, I'm rolling away too much. Okay, maybe I should try rolling into the attack, right? Whereas Piranha Bytes, they just expect you to know it. You know, it's like they're saying to the player, yes, this enemy has these weird glitchy movements because we're trying to prevent you from rolling away from this enemy. You're naturally thinking, oh, that's definitely a bug, and it's like, no, that's by design. I mean, you gotta go with me on this because I honestly can't think of any other reason why these games have stayed like this, and I mean stayed like this. Like Gothic is identical to ELEX in so many ways. I mean, so many freaking ways. That's not an insult. I'm just saying they have been reusing these things, and by these things I mean the animations, the attack patterns, the AI behavior, the enemy types, all this stuff. They've been reusing this stuff for so long that it has to be on purpose by now, right? I know that's hard to believe, but I'm telling you, there's no other explanation for it. I've thought about it. I can't think of any. And the combat's not reactive. I mean, it's too unpredictable to be reactive, meaning that like the player can't react to what the enemy is doing reliably, right? It's not one of those in the moment I make a decision kind of things. It's okay, enemy, you can have complete immunity to my attacks. It's fine. It's like you get used to something and through rote memorization you finally get better at it. It's a lot like the SATs and a lot less like fun combat. And yet I'm still recommending this. I mean, I know it sounds weird. Is anybody good at this game? Like, can anybody be good at this game? I wonder. The best advice I can give you for overcoming all the combat shortcomings is
Do not come.
if this is your first time playing a game, go with a ranged build. Magic for berserkers, pew pew for clerics, and no one picks outlaw unless they want to do the nasty with nasty, which, gonna be honest, is tempting. Magic is very good because it can get you a 50% bonus to damage where ranged maxes out at 30, but it's also limited by the fact that you need mana or energy for ammo, while a bow can have hundreds of arrows and never needs a reload. It's something to consider. For my build, I went magic with some close range support. See, my whole idea with this build was a little short-sighted. See, I wanted to go melee. I really did. I always go melee in these games. But see, the thing is, I wanted to get that 50-point melee increase from Aspect of Warrior. And I thought that that would really help out. But I'm going to be honest with you, I've used it and I didn't really see that much of a difference. I'm not even sure if that spell works the way it's supposed to work. And to be honest, there's actually a lot of stuff that doesn't work right in this game. The point of this is that ranged is always going to be better no matter what. Get it through your head. Use magic, use guns, use bows, use whatever you want, but make sure it's at range. If you're on anything that can be considered elevation, or the enemy decides it's going to have to pathfind its way on top of a rock to get to you, or there's an enemy on a floor above you, just watch out. Every single creature in this game, from the lowest form of life to the most evolved, can shoot projectiles from every pore and orifice at you, and a lot of them can set you on fire or make you bleed to death, so be careful. If you are going to try and cheese these guys, make sure that the platform that you're on top of is high enough and far enough away that you can actually dodge the incoming missile. And if an enemy finds itself on top of something, get the hell away from it. The key here is to be on a level playing field with the enemy while not being too far away as to trigger their ranged attacks. You could be about 30 feet away from the enemy before this happens. Practice it for a while and you'll figure out the optimal range for each enemy. And just like Gothic, save after every battle. I mean that. This is the most important piece of information I can give you. Save, and then save again, and then save to a new slot each time. You never know when you're going to need to unscrew your game or roll back a point allocation issue. It really is that type of game. And part of the problem is with the disparity between the power of ranged attacks and melee attacks. See, melee is the weakest form of combat in this game. Ranged is by far the most damaging, and if you got a melee weapon of comparable strength as a ranged weapon, you still got to deal with the fact that the combat is so unbearably inconsistent at times that you will get hit. And even at level 20, there's certain high level enemies that can and will one-shot you because of their range.
What?
And unpredictable attack pattern. In other words, there's absolutely no good reason to ever use a melee weapon unless you're insane like me and like it when your blood pressure is dangerously high, because that's the only time you feel alive. So raise your hand in the chat if you know this. Did you know the descriptions of attribute points are a lie? Just a straight up lie. How many of you knew that? Descriptions are used for many things. Sometimes they're used to tell people why you should stay away from certain dangerous things, you know, like lava flows. Warning, lava is extremely hot. Don't swim in it, you won't get far. Sometimes a description is there to tell us what something might look like, right? So like for instance, if you're walking through the woods and you see a large, hairy, hunched over man eating mushrooms off of tree bark, don't worry, that's just Joe Rogan on ayahuasca. Sometimes descriptions are just straight up lies, like the ability scores in ELEX. This game lies to you so much that not even one single attribute does what it actually says it does. Here's an example. Dexterity says the following: improving dexterity increases range damage and unlocks new abilities and items. No, it doesn't. Putting points into dexterity does not increase your damage. Not even one single point. Nothing. Nada. It does unlock range damage abilities and allows you to equip new items, so in a way I guess it isn't lying. Now look, I say stupid stuff on the internet all the time, okay? And it's like, I get it, we make mistakes, man, it's cool, it's fine, but I mean, this just sort of seems to support my theory from earlier, you know, that they're just doing this on purpose. I mean, like, they probably just think that, you know, hiding information from the player and misleading the player makes the game harder. And, you know, that's what they wanted to do. So, congratulations, you did it. It's definitely harder. These are hard mistakes to make on accident, you know what I mean? You can write the rest of the language just fine, but it's just like the concept of "and" throws you off. I'm just saying, I'm pretty sure they're doing this on purpose. So to prevent myself from saying something stupid on the internet again, like, you know, something that isn't true, I decided I was going to test this out. And if after you've gotten done watching this and you say to yourself, there's no way I'm playing this game, then watch the rest of this video. I'm serious. I'm saving you a lot of heartache. 50%. Yeah, do I want to skip this cutscene? Yeah, sure. Yes, I would like to do that, yeah. Oh, look, it fucking crashed again. This is not the first time this has happened to me. Can you believe that I'm gonna be trying to recommend this game to people? Well, 1, 2, 3.
Later.
11.
Surprise, motherfucker!
Oh, come the fuck on! Fuck you, game. Oh my god. Fuck you, game. One, two. Oh, you've got to be fucking kidding me, dude. Hello, controller. Hello. Wowie zowie. Wowie fucking zowie, bro. You know what? We're gonna just go with this guy. Fuck it. Oh my god. 1. Oh my god. 1, 2. Okay. I can't go with this guy because he's a fucking pain in the ass. Dude, none of the menus fucking work. None of the fucking menus work with controller. Let's try that. God, fuck! 1, 2, 3, 15. Okay, so 15 hits. Alright, so we got a baseline of 15 hits. Okay, now my controller doesn't fucking work at all. Wow, fucking god, this game sucks ass. Two, none of the fucking combos are registering.
No, God!
Three, what the fuck is this now? Ah, dude, fuck off! 1, 2, 3, 4. No increase. 14. Wow, it actually took more hits this time. 19. Wow. Okay, that's really, really, really fucking weird. So that could just mean that there's variables in your damage. Does not look like you can increase your damage the way it says you can. 13, 14, 15. Okay. So no fucking difference. Not even a single hit difference. 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay. Got him. So 10. 7, 10. Yeah. We know that strength and dexterity, neither one of them raise any of your attack at all. So it's a complete fucking lie. So yeah, none of these abilities do what they say they do. Just about every single game that has an RPG system is going to give you a boost to that derivative stat, that derived stat, based on how high that attribute is. Every game I've ever played, like if you specialize in strength, then your melee weapons damage goes up. Even Bethesda manages to do this right. Never before in my life have I played an RPG that not only does your stats not raise the derived stat it's associated with, but that it lies to you and tells you that it will, even though it won't. This comes with all kinds of issues. That number one, This game is already a chore to play. If you're like a new player and you've never played a Piranha Bytes game before, you're gonna come to this game and you're gonna be saying to yourself, bro, what the fuck, right? The fucking combat is rough as shit. Enemies are hitting me from football fields away with a melee attack. You can't get a magic... How in the fuck? That guy was like 3 fucking people lengths away from me. Did you guys see that? Can you clip that, please? Jesus fucking Christ, this game.
What in the goddamn?
Literally, that attack that hit me, that shit was like that far away on my screen. Not only is the combat clunky, but it's also unpredictable. The AI breaks its own fucking rules constantly. It's unpredictable in the way that if you are just a little bit elevated above the enemy, you won't hit it. You're on a slight incline, right? And the enemy's here and you're here. You won't hit the enemy. You can't hit the enemy because the hitboxes are straight across and thin. Very, very, very fucking thin. And then on top of that, you got this issue where every single enemy in this game can shoot fireballs at you from across the fucking map. The trigger for them to do that is them or you standing on elevation. Not an incline, but like if you're standing on top of a rock and the enemy can't immediately get to you, they'll start shooting at you. And if they're real close to you, the projectile travels fast enough that you're gonna get hit by it. You can't avoid it. So you got all of that to contend with. You as a player are saying to yourself, okay, I need to do more damage or I need to get more hit points in order to survive the damage I'm taking, right? So you just start pumping points in the Constitution, thinking that this is going to help you get more hit points. And then you find out that no, in fact, it does not give you more hit points at all. It's not even fucking related, and you're still dying in the exact same amount of hits. But you're not gonna notice that unless you're very conscious of it. Unless you're saying, okay, I died in 3 hits to that attack. Now I'm gonna put points in. Nobody does that. When you start the game, you'll be spit out into the ruins of an old satellite station, and inside will be a bunch of free XP in the form of rats. There's probably a bunch of junk lying around, and all that junk has uses, but you won't know that at first, and in fact, you probably won't know that until much later in the game because this game doesn't show you the crafting system until much later. And depending on the faction you side with, you may never find a use for certain items. ELEX is not the first game to screw this kind of thing up, and they won't be the last. See, some games are pretty smart with this kind of thing. Elden Ring specifically. See, the crafting items in the game are not only labeled as such, but they also have their own tab in the inventory screen to further segregate themselves from other items. ELEX also has a category for materials, which is a bit more ambiguous, but it should have served the same purpose. The problem is, Elden Ring shows its crafting system right up front, and ELEX doesn't show you its crafting until much later in the game. See, because ELEX has all the stuff that every other game has in its inventory screen, right? But where the game completely fails to inform the player is in the merchant screen under sell, right? You go to the sell tab and then you have 3 categories, only 3. You have weapons, armor, and items. And under items, not only are all of your alb spells under here, but so's your food, a million different notes that you've picked up in your journey, every miscellaneous thing that you have in your inventory, including like crafting items and junk items and trophies. And the game doesn't tell you in this screen anywhere that any of these items are for crafting. Nowhere specifically does it say that. And then you come across items of value, right? It says they call them valuables, right? And as you can imagine, you know, toilet paper is the #1 valuable item in the entire game, except in every way but value. And after the meteor fell, you know, all the supplies of toilet paper just went right out the window. You know what I mean? People were breaking into grocery stores and stabbing each other in the throat for fucking rolls of toilet paper. It was crazy. It was nuts. And after about a week of these people having to wipe their asses with hands full of sand and leaves and shit, because I don't know if you've ever had poison ivy in your butthole, but let me tell you, it makes you very irritable. You
Tripping, bro.
makes you very irritable. Makes you want to just blow things up. And that's what happened. That's what started the War of Itchy Bum. That's what kicked off this whole, Alb versus Berserker thing. The Albs had the overwhelming supply of toilet paper because these guys have been preparing for this for years. And see, they thought it was going to be the Russians, but turns out it was just, the universe having a wank. And the Berserkers are like, hey man, you can't just hoard toilet paper. And the Albs are like, yeah, we can do whatever we want. This is a free country. I'll do what I want, right? And the Berserkers were like, no, you have to equally distribute that toilet paper to the people. And the Albs are like, the people, okay, yeah. And the Paladins were like, yeah, dude, whatever, they didn't care. They had indoor plumbing, they had bidets, you know what I mean? They didn't think it was weird that they enjoyed having water squirt into their butthole. They didn't find that weird. The rest of them did. You know what I mean? The Alps thought it was gay. I will respectfully disagree with you. Sometimes, if I have a particularly messy shit, I will jump into the shower. I just don't agree with you. We're different people. In fact, you know what? I've never really found much use in crafting systems in any of these games because they all share a very similar fatal flaw. It costs more to make the potion than you can make selling it. What the hell is the point of this? Is it because you don't want us to sit and grind out a bunch of money and destroy this balance that you've created? Hey, listen, Jack.
Get your words straight, Jack.
Doing this kind of shit, this is what I enjoy doing. And you're preventing me from being able to do the thing that I enjoy doing by making it less rewarding. The worst part is that it's for arbitrary reasons. I can understand if there was a reason behind it, but honestly, there isn't. I mean, look at basic economics. No business could survive in this climate, I'm telling you. If they can't make more money than it costs them to operate, then how are they going to keep operating? That kind of business model don't last very long. And yeah, I get it. This isn't an economic simulator or a business simulator. I get it. I only bring this up because this trope is worn out, man. It's got old knees. It needs a new hip. It's old, dude. It needs to be replaced by something better. That's why I'm pointing it out. It's not ELEX's fault. They aren't the first one to do it, like I said, and they won't be the last. I mean, really. Every single world, every single galaxy that we've explored, every alternative reality, and no matter where we are, no matter what time it is, no matter what dimension we're in, this is the kind of economics they do. So this is all we can come up with, like in the entire universe. This is it. Just this.
Give me that, it's mine!
Economy. It seems lazier when you say it that way, doesn't it? I think it's time for change here. And I'm just kind of using ELEX as a punching bag to get my point across. Morrowind did crafting right, but it also did crafting wrong at the same time. And like stacking restoration potions before a fight, you'll love it until it trivializes the game. Economies are a delicate balancing act for games. You never know just how complex this shit is until you try to make one. Morrowind has a great example of how an economy should work in a video game. So let's just say we only buy an apprentice's mortar and pestle, right? In Morrowind, any potion you sell, with some exceptions, has the potential to make you money. More money than you spend on the ingredients. Why? Because basic economics. Keep in mind, this guy, he only got a mortar and pestle. He ain't got nothing, right? So let's go ahead and see what happens. He's failing a lot more, but he's not failing as much because his alchemy is a little high, right? But look at the value on him. 18, 19, not very high, right? I made 97 off of that. Spent 70 gold to make 97 gold, which is a decent profit, but as you can see, progress is very slow. We're not making a lot of money, right? Price of the product must naturally be sold at a profit or the business won't stay in business. If you buy a 5 gold herb to make a potion, the profit has to be at least 6 gold, but you prefer more. And Morrowind had a great way to help you with that. I'm making a lot of money and this stingy ass bitch don't even want to give you one more coin of gold for your dog water potions. So what we need to do is buy a calcinator. Let's see, can we get a retort? We could get a retort. And then I guess it's best if we just get a calcinator too, man. It's only 10 fucking gold. Let's do it, right? Offer, bam. Now we got everything we need. Now we're gonna try this again. All right, so now we made a hell of a lot more potions, right? The value is the same, but we failed less. So we made 100 gold this time. We made 100 gold. That's a huge difference. So for a 300 gold investment, we're now making 100 more gold every time we sell our potions. There's a whole meta game underneath the
regular game that you're playing. There's a whole other game there, you know? There's a game about economics. Now, if you had started out the game with like an alchemy of like 20, you would be struggling right now. Like right now, you would be making 1 potion for every 5 that you try to make. There's a game about making a better product. Take a look at the potions that you just made, right? You've made a Restore Fatigue of 28 value, which is huge. There's a game about bartering and selling, and there's a game about being a better salesman. You're gonna want to get better prices. And the way that you get better prices is by making the disposition of the merchants go up. All right, so he has Charming Touch, and Charming Touch is 2,400. It's not cheap. There's so many games underneath of this because the systems themselves are so stripped down and simple, right? Like the act of selling to somebody, that's just a meter, right? That's just how much they like you or how much they don't like you, right? And all of that determines how much you're gonna get. And if you persuade them or if you use a charm spell on them, there's all kinds of ways to get the thing that you want, right? You don't have to come into contact with one monster in this game if you don't want to. You can play this game in a completely different way, and in that way, it separates itself from ELEX. But like ELEX, it has the same problem. It's that infinite spawning item shit in the inventory of these merchants in these towns. If I could just go and buy all the stuff that I need, well, I'm not going to care about that system after I make everything that I need and move on. There's no more depth there for me because I know how to exploit the system. I've made literally the best potions in the game at the very beginning of the game. I mean, being able to stack restoration potions makes you invincible. I'm able to do all of that at the beginning of the game, completely destroying any sense of balance in the game. And I'm able to do that from the very first moments of the game just because the merchants have an infinite supply of these items. And the worst part of that is not that they have an infinite supply, it's that there's no good reason for it, nor could there ever be a good reason for it. It's just not possible. They would run out eventually. Basic economics works in video games as well. I mean, if the supply is unlimited, then the prices will be low. So don't make the supply unlimited. Make it limited, but respawning. For instance, in ELEX, if you go out and pick every single mushroom in existence, then you could either rest a few days and do it all over again, or have those things only respawn once per chapter, including inside of shops. Having a control on the density of crafting items like this makes it possible to control how much supply there is, but also makes crafting way more rewarding to players who want to roleplay as Radagast Brown. And think about all the missed opportunities that are there, right? Like, let's say that if that merchant didn't have that infinite supply, breaking and entering into houses would be a hell of a lot more useful because a alchemist might be breaking into people's houses to go into their larders and steal all their food so they can make Restore Fatigue potions. I mean, there's a lot of potential there that isn't realized because everything you need is at these stores. You know, the convenience is the problem. If you're in a role-playing game, you should be playing a role, and sometimes that role is just an occupation. You know, I want to play as a version of the Nerevarine where he's just, you know, chilling out in the woods and tripping balls. That's part of the fun, is finding out who your character is. What does my character do for money? It's just a much more interesting question than most because it involves both the story for a character you created and the mechanics in the game. You know, does my character just sit around all day and smoke rock and lotion his abs?
All I need to do is find a way out, cross kilometers of enemy territory, find out why my brother tried to kill me. What could go wrong?
What could go wrong? He sounds like a voice actor on a teen movie about guys going across country to get laid. Johnny was a big old pussy who couldn't get laid to save his life. But when one girl says she's gonna lay him, he's gotta go across the country to find out. What could possibly go wrong?
Once you finish looting everything and deboning all the rats, you exit into a cutscene. Alright. When you wake up, you see this weird pagan dude watching you sleep, touching himself. This handsome man, this handsome hunk of eyebrow meat.
I mean, this guy looks like he could kill somebody with just his fucking eyebrow ridge. Look at this dude's eyebrows, man. Look, they're so heavy he can't even keep his eyes open and shit. Like they're like weighing him down. You know, like his eyebrows alone keep him from being able to swim. We'll offer to take you through the ruins of the old world to his town for safety. And that sounds like a great idea. But this guy has a brain defect. Hey, asshole, Duras, you gonna help? I guess Duras is just gonna fucking stand there like a dickhead. Oh, now you pull your weapon out. Thanks, Duras, you're a fucking lifesaver.
Did your parents have any children that lived?
Once you start heading to the ruins, Duras will give you a warning about the area ahead being dangerous.
Watch your step. I've never come through this area once without getting attacked.
If it's so dangerous here, why do y'all keep staying here? I'd move very far away from all this shit. My neighbors was playing their music loud, and I was like, I don't want to live here anymore. I can't imagine living in a place like this. I'd fucking move immediately, man. Like I said, I can't stand it when my neighbors are mildly inconveniencing.
As we approach the foreshadowed ruins, we stop Duras to ask him some questions like what is, why is, who is, and we find out that there's some dudes that worship technology, guys who worship money, and some pagans that worship little red tumor balls that grow out of the ground. And that's okay, because they've only told us this information twice. For now. And he asks you why you haven't joined one of these factions yet. Nah, sorry, Duras. I respectfully decline to answer that question. They haven't come up with a safe for work word for what I worship yet. And I ain't trying to talk to HR today. We found out that a guy named Ray took our armor and that we might as well not go running off to find the guy because he's likely already sold it. Which is great because we don't need to protect ourselves so much as run away from every single thing we see. Once I got to the ruins, I was given a mission to find 5 cleric weapons. And I'm going to warn you, from this point on, you're going to hear me call paladins clerics and clerics paladins because the paladins are high-level berserkers while the clerics is the name of an entirely different faction. And because my brain is old and feeble, chances are I'll be making that mistake a lot.
This mission's a really good way to introduce the player to the faction dynamics at play here, because once you find these weapons, you'll be given a choice later on in Adan, the town that Duras is taking you to. But we'll get to that in a minute. First, we'll look at the strange logic of ELEX in terms of role-playing.
Why haven't you joined a faction? I just fucking got here, man. Why are you asking me all these fucking questions? Like, the only option I have is, no, I don't want to join a faction. Stop questioning me about my business or I'll get angry. Oh, wow, okay. I don't understand. So I could say, I'm gonna get angry if you keep fucking asking me questions. Or I could say, I have no interest. And it'll increase my cold if I say I have no interest. But what does the other option do? Does it? I gotta find out now. Stop questioning me about my business while I get angry. Duras doesn't like that, but it decreases my cold? I don't okay, it's like I understand that when I get emotional, my cold decreases. I get that.
Don't start your games like this!
But there's something I just don't like about the lack of a third fucking option. Obvious third option would be to maybe, I don't know, allow me to just say, you know, I'll think about it. Stop putting me on the spot. I'll think about it and I'll get back to you. Don't need to lock me into a dialogue choice that'll increase my cold or decrease my cold for completely arbitrary seeming reasons. Don't need to do that. You could have just given me a third option and everything would have been fine. Like, I understand that you want my stats to go up and down. I understand that you want my cold to either decrease or increase, and like my standing with people to increase or decrease depending on the shit that I say. Me saying something that's neutral is basically me not getting a chance to make a stat go up or down. That is also a tough choice. You get what I'm saying?
Once inside the ruins, I do a scavenger hunt and head up the mountains, and the game has several death traps set up for me. Duras is a pretty single-minded kind of guy. See, ever since we found him sitting in the woods on that tree stump, he's had to take a shit. And he's had to take a shit this whole time, and now it's at emergency levels. He ain't stopping for nothing unless something directly threatens his life.
Please stop running, Duras.
So don't depend on him to help you with any of these enemies that you might encounter on the way up that mountain, because he is zooming. And you may think that you might want to fight these two guys here with these weapons that you really want to steal, but Durst ain't got time for that. He's gonna run past them and let you deal with them. And if you're the brave type, you could try to kill him only to be enraged by the fact that not only can you not steal these guys' weapons, but you can't get their armor either. Yeah, ELEX is in a special kind of category with games that like to try and call themselves RPGs, but then when it comes time to loot a body, their items just magically disappear, just disintegrate. All of their weapons dematerialize from reality and their armor is stuck on with some kind of glue.
Normally you only see this kind of thing in a Diablo type game, you know, like Titan's Quest or Lost Ark, or, you know, one of those type of games where you're just killing hordes of enemies, mowing them down, and collecting randomized loot. It's not bad in every game that it's put in. It works better in some games than it does in others, and this is definitely one of those cases where it doesn't work in this particular game. I honestly never expect to see this kind of thing in a traditional CRPG, and every time I do, I'm like really surprised that it's there. Like that one uncle that went to jail and you didn't know he got out and then he shows up to a Christmas party. I can't stand this kind of shit in an RPG. It's actually one of the things that pisses me off the most. I'm sorry, but if I take the time and effort required to kill someone who can one-shot me, and I don't get their loot afterward, or you give me a version of their weapon that's made out of Nerf foam, I'm gonna lose my shit on you because it's honestly not about the weapon or the money I could sell it for or any of that stuff. It's actually about the fact that you just shattered the game's immersion for sake of maintaining a strict leveling and power curve or to maintain the stability of your economy. Whatever your reasons, making weapons and armor disappear off of enemies after I kill them is a surefire way to lose me as your current and future audience. It's dumb. And it's something that lazy AAA game designers lean on to maintain balance. Got him. Damn, I'm surprised I actually killed him. And no fucking weapon. You get no weapon for killing that guy. But what's puzzling here is that this game didn't even need it. See, you can find any weapon you want in this game and you still can't use it. Because the game has these really steep attribute requirements in order to equip any weapon that you might find. So, just because you found a really good weapon does not mean that you're going to be able to use it. So, they only did this for the economy, which is... It ends where the story finally kicks off, or, well, honestly, I can't say that this is the point where the story kicks off because there's actually two different stories going on here. And the first story is about the most boring shit imaginable. First off, I meet this guy, and he's pretty paranoid because he thinks this handsome dude, with his chiseled jawline and tan skin, is an incel. And while these games might not have the greatest voice direction in the history of games, there is some charm to hearing these voices from older games. Like, a lot of these voices have been reused in just about every single Gothic game, or I should say every Piranha Bytes game, because I haven't played any of the Risen games, so I don't really know. I'm pretty sure I've heard these voices before. It's almost like talking to an old friend, really. I mean, I remember these guys' voices. They're so ingrained in my memory that every time I hear him, I can picture the guy from the other game that I'm hearing. It's really crazy. But I remember this guy for some reason wanting money before. So he wasn't gonna let me in, so I decided to find another way in, and I found this little opening here, and I just jetpacked right in. I felt so freaking intelligent for figuring that out. And I was like, oh, this game really reminds me of an M-Sim. Because I remember in my first playthrough, I remember being shocked that I could jetpack down into the pit and take all of this stuff out of there, and one of my companions would actually be in there, and that I could jetpack myself back out, and no one would notice that I was even in there. I loved that about the game. There's little touches that this game has where there's just this mechanical brilliance in some of the quests, or just maybe just plain old creativity. Most of this game has a quest design that's a lot like most of the games out there, where I need you to go out here and kill this many things, or you go out and you do a Radiant quest where you're just out in the world and the quest happens in front of you and you have to pick a side. Which side are you choosing? The monsters that are attacking the caravanners, or the caravanners that are attacking the monsters? Like, which side are you going to take? And then you join in the fight, and if you pick the monsters, you pick the wrong choice, dummy. If anyone's alive, maybe they'll say thank you. And those quests are pretty satisfying. It's just a shame that a lot of the main story missions are not like that at all. I always found that Piranha Bytes was just a little bit more creative than the rest of the AAA market when it came to like quest design. They're always good at making each quest an actual event.
And the best thing about them was that they were short, but complicated. So you always felt satisfied when you finished a quest, but not exhausted. But with ELEX, something just feels off. Something doesn't feel right. ELEX feels like it didn't lose all of the complexity, but it lost a lot of it, and it also felt like it lost a lot of the difficulty in the game. Let's go back to the Gothic 2 example, the orc axe. Well, it wasn't so simple as just going out and killing an orc, right? Like, the game wasn't gonna give you like a wounded orc to kill or something. You had to kill an actual orc and get that axe, right? And orcs can one-shot you, so you didn't want to do that. But you could problem solve a good solution to that problem, and the game designers knew that, and they trusted that you would think out of the box enough to make that happen, that you would beat your head against that orc so many times and realize eventually that you're not going to kill that orc no matter what you do. Find a different solution. ELEX has lost some of that, but there's still those little touches of brilliance in some of the quest design where you're like, I wonder if I can do this, and then you go and do it and you're like, oh, I can do that. Like, any one given quest that you get might have 3 different outcomes depending on how you actually did things. So there's this one quest where you're supposed to follow this tax collector guy around, and it reminds me a lot of an old Assassin's Creed quest. What happens is, you're following this guy around, and he's extorting people for money, essentially, and he's pocketing the rest of that money, and you have a choice. You could either turn this guy in, or you could confront him, or you could kill him and steal the money. There are so many different things that you could do, and that's when I realized, like, this game is less of an RPG and more of an ImSim with really janky combat. And that's why you play this game, honestly, is to break it in weird and wonderful ways. This guy sets the standard for the writing in this game, and what I mean by that is, whoever wrote this game is as autistically dedicated to the details as I am. I can't poke holes in this shit. If you were wondering why he had to stop Chad Eggleston here, he actually gives you a good reason. See, I was gonna go on one of my patented rants here about some minor detail that a writer forgot to mention, and this game here, denied me my fun by having decent writing.
Do I look like an elf?
Well, elves are normally pasty white, but I've heard some of them are painting themselves to look normal just so they can come in here and cause trouble.
As you wander around town, you'll run into every type of the worst kinds of disgusting people.
These guys are gross. They're always like blowing their fucking nose out their nostrils. It's like these guys never heard of napkins. Did it again. Dude! Man. Is that the way they greet people in this game? They just, listen, it's just constant. Just blowing the fucking, ew, man, it's gross. I think we've all met a guy who does that. You know, that's how he fucking like blows his nose, is he just fucking one nostrils it just into the air and somehow never manages to get any all over his lips. Cause like when we try it, you know, it's all over our lips, our chin, just all over our fucking face. Wind blows it into our eyes, and we never try it again. It's driving me crazy. I'm hearing it constantly. It's driving me nuts.
You might be walking around town stealing everybody's stuff, minding your own business, and some guy will come up and start asking questions about illegal contraband you brought into town. You know, as people are apt to do in a society that will exile you to a valley of mutants for doing such things. He heard from somebody, Duris, that I have some paladin tech on me, and he's interested in taking it off my hands. He's actually a spy, and this will quickly introduce you to the second faction in the game, and if you do Bertram's quest, you can help him escape execution, but the faction leader of the hippies will find out, and he'll make sure he mentions how badly you screwed up whenever you ask for a promotion. Just like your boss when he found out that you've been using the executive coffee pot as a latrine. This game can also be a bit deceptive with its quests. The first place you're likely to come across as a new player is Adan, and the first mission you're likely to get is the main faction mission from Ragnar, the faction leader. This is not the first mission you need to be doing. In fact, I don't think this mission is meant for you to do until much later after you've done most of the side missions in Adan. The reason I say this is that Ragnar's mission has you going into areas where enemies can and will one-shot you, and unless you're at least level 5, but preferably level 8, you're going to get a train run on you by all kinds of enemies. And even at those levels, the combat will be an absolute drag to get through, with you hitting some enemies over 4 dozen times before you put them down. And as you can see, it's not worth it. Leveling up in this game is unlike the other Piranha Bytes games in that killing things ain't worth it. You saw how many hits it took to kill that thing and how dangerous it was to me at that level. But even at my level, 35 EXP is not worth the headache or the reloads so early on. And even late in the game, it isn't worth killing anything, so you're best off, at least in the early levels, ignoring every enemy you come across and only killing enemies when you need money or crafting parts. But back to Ragnar. The game introduces you to him first because he's right in the middle of the town in the most obvious of locations, wearing different armor than everyone else, standing there with his hands on his hips like some kind of important guy. Your new player is going to likely go right for him like a moth to a flame and then try to do his mission and get his wings burnt. So the missions are more like puzzles you have to solve, and if the puzzles have a steep requirement to complete, this might push a player to exploring other factions to see if joining them is easier, or if you like their mechanics better. At this point, you have a choice. You could sit here and do the hippies missions and get access to the best damage in the game in the form of magic fireballs, or you can head over to the clerics and get access to the best ranged weapons in the game, or you could head over to the outlaws for the best girl in the game and basically nothing else. There's no reason, as far as I could tell, to join the outlaws. The benefits of joining them are outweighed by how much it costs to make your own stims and ammo, and in fact, just like the description of your attributes, some of these abilities don't do what they say they're going to do. So before joining a faction, what I always do is save up a bunch of levels and save the game, then join the faction and start testing out all the abilities to see if they actually do what they say they do. But this faction system, even though it's been around since Gothic, is the highlight of Piranha Bytes games, because unlike in some games that I won't mention, this is an irreversible type of thing. You could join a faction and that's pretty much it, but in a strange twist, you could spy on your own faction and sell the info to other factions for money, so there's yet another layer of depth to the system. Essentially, the only benefits you get from the factions are the faction armor and some skills they won't teach outsiders. For the Berserkers, that's magic, and it's well worth the price of being a melee guy for 10 hours. But each faction has its own missions, as well as their own stories, and joining one will lock you out of the story missions for another. But you will still have the same path through the main story, because that story happens regardless of your faction, which, yeah, let's talk about that. Once you start up with the Berserkers, the mission that Ragnar gives you is a spy mission, and it's best to do this mission later after you've done nearly every mission you could do for the Berserkers, because you want a decent jump on the level curve when you finally set out into the desert to see what the anarcho-capitalists are up to, and out in the frozen tundra to say hi to the religious fanatics. And as you travel, you'll run into all kinds of wonderful content like this.
What in the fuck was he even think? Look! God damn it, come on now. What the fuck happened just now? Can somebody tell me?
Now, I don't know about you, but I love it when a cutscene throws me into a fight with guys that'll one-shot me, but also puts me into the worst possible position to engage that enemy as well. And if you try to go around the fight and maybe enter the facility from another entrance just to go around or hit these guys from above, this happens.
All these Gothic games, oh my god, why? That is the dumbest thing. Yeah. No matter which way you enter, no matter which way you approach this, it's just going to teleport you into this cutscene where you are now very vulnerable to attack from these dickheads.
This is like the worst kind of shit that an action game based around giving the player choice in how they approach a fight can possibly do, which is to wrest that control away violently and in such a fashion to totally negate choice. Thankfully, this doesn't happen too much, but it happens enough that I thought I'd mention it. Alright, I enter into that little converter to run away from the Alps chasing me to find a really good ring in another cutscene.
Always get to like the near end of this game and just lose motivation to continue.
Waiting for the enemy to commit their troops before you revealed the fighting Colossi. They left the enemy nowhere to go. You've shattered their attack.
It was a logical move.
Jax defeated his enemies with logic, publicly humiliating the mentally ill and secretly fantasizing about his sister's exclusion zone.
You honor our people, but there are those who think of themselves.
I serve the hybrid. His will is above all.
So Jax was a once loyal guy of the Guy Squad and put the will of the hybrid above all, and everyone knows that. They constantly throw it in your face when you meet them. But he's no longer a hybrid D-Rider, and he's a hippie stan now, because having your own people try to kill you because you were succeeding too hard, that can have that effect on a guy. Normally why you'd come and see these converters is to shut them down, but in order to shut them down, you need to get a code from one of the separatists on the north side of the level over by the Ice Palace, which... well, let's think on this logic, okay? Breaking away from the Alps just to hide out in a converter a few hundred meters from the Alp base is like breaking out of prison and booking a reservation at the hotel down the street. In the converter, you'll find a bunch of Alb spells, which are single-use items that require no mana to use, and they absolutely shred enemies. These things are incredible early on, and they do insane damage, and stun and knock down most enemies. You'll also find some recipes in a locked door, and this is where hacking comes in. The hacking minigame is actually interesting, which isn't something I could say about a lot of other games that have tried to do this. The way it works is you get a certain amount of tries, and some of those keys on the pad are already disabled. The first number you pick will determine, in a way, what you pick from there on out, because these symbols stand for less than or greater than, and the code is like a puzzle. If you get a number right, but it's in the wrong position, it'll highlight it in yellow, red for wrong, and green for just right. It's engaging without being overly complicated. And all throughout this place are encounters that are set up specifically to ambush and cheese you. Fucking wow, thank you. Oh wow, thank you so much. That's so nice of you. So once you get some of these Alb powers, it's time to cheese the game right back. Fucking motherfucker. Alright. Yeah, just come right out of the fucking dark on me there. When the game cheeses you, you gotta cheese the game back. Now, you know how I said that Ragnar mission is a little hard for brand new characters? That has a lot of caveats to it. The most obvious is roads. See, there are remains of all these old roads and highways strewn about throughout the game, and each of these roads will sometimes lead to a town or a point of interest. When I said you'd die a lot trying to get to Ignadon for the Outlaws, that was because for the most part, I would always take the path of least resistance, or to put it another way, the shortest path. And that shortest path is going to lead you through a thicket of mutants and raptors that will one-shot you, but if you stick to the roads, most everything is at your level, and while those enemies still do provide a level of challenge, if you're blocking attacks, you don't have to worry too much about it. On my way back to Ignadon, I gathered up a bunch of crap, which was mostly crafting materials that I couldn't use for anything right now except to sell. And at the converter, I picked up a ring that increased my health and my stamina, which makes this quite possibly the best ring you can get for several chapters, well, as far as I know at least. If you keep going up the road, you'll run across a fellow autist and, oh, they're mass rats. No, thank you. I'm good. That's what we used to call girls that we'd have sex with in the pews at church.
Oh, Commander Jax.
This is the wrong time to talk to me, dude.
Have we met before?
But every Alb knows of your achievements. Everyone heard of your crash.
Was the crash my achievement?
So why aren't you still a loyal soldier of Zakor?
So why aren't you still a loyal commander of Zakor?
You are, but what am I? I know you are, but what am I? I know you are, but what am I?
I was fortunate. I fell from a cliff and they presumed I was dead. I've been trying to recover my strength and get answers since then.
Then your executioner also failed. They will have to execute him when they discover that.
Alright, motherfucker, I want to see if I can understand this shit. I'm being executed because I failed to see an ambush coming from my own brother, and my brother's gonna get executed because he failed to execute me. So I got a question. If he failed to execute me, doesn't that mean that I still succeeded in my mission? Doesn't one cancel the other out? I mean, I'm still alive. I could still finish my mission. I didn't fail to do anything. You see what I'm saying here? If you pull on one plot thread for too long, the whole thing just starts coming unraveled like an overactive kitten playing with a ball of yarn. The hybrid sent me out to do a thing that he really needed done, right? That was the whole point of him sending me out. It was a personal request from the hybrid, you know? This guy that these guys are all saying they love, you know? That they would do anything for. Like, think about it, man. They were willing to give this dude all of their biker meth. All of it. Well, you know, they really like this hybrid guy. He's their favorite guy, right? So if he wants something, it would seem to me that the priority would be to get that thing done for the guy that you love. You know what I mean? I mean, you guys are deriding him for a reason, right? So Calyx, in a way, betrays the hybrid by trying to kill me and then failing, but he won't get executed for the betrayal, but he will get executed for the failure to betray him? And this is some BioWare writing right here, man. Logical fallacies abound.
Seems like a pretty shitty system to go by. If you fail something, we're just gonna execute you. How the fuck do you learn? How do you learn things? Everybody's gotta be an expert at shit that they've only tried for the first time?
Yes. So what is your plan now?
The only thing that matters right now is taking the heads of the Albs who are hunting me. Once I have them, then I can think of the future. I want them dead. And I want their heads.
Arx believes that he can read the minds of the Albs, and if he has their heads, he should be able to, because after the Albs discovered the hybrid, they started chipping their own brains when some started to lose their faith in the directive. Those chips should allow Arx to read whatever is stored there, and they would know that to be true because both of them are Albs, but they don't. Now, I could chalk this up to a plot hole, but I want to make a prediction because I've never seen this game through to the end until now. Always got burnt out on it before then, but here's my prediction. The chips are why the Separatists don't remember things, why Arx doesn't remember the chips, and why Jax thinks his plan won't work. If they still had their memories intact, they would know exactly how and why this would work.
With Arx having joined the group, I have someone who could take all the aggro from these enemies while I chip away at them from behind with my puny, rusty axe. The companion makes the combat a lot easier, but it all depends on who you get. Arx is good because he has a high rate of damage and you can get him early. Durus is okay, but he doesn't seem to be as effective as Arx, as Arx actually attacks enemies instead of standing around watching. Then there's Ray, who we'll get into later. For now, we have our companion. It's time to move on. But as you do move on, if you see these guys, don't mess with them. Not at your level. Let me show you why.
Even while blocking, he can kill me, damn.
These things can and will one-shot you even through a block, which, well, the block is a really inconsistent thing. Sometimes when you're on an incline or decline, the attacks seem to go right through or over your block and hit you regardless. And because these things take forever to kill and offer very little in the way of reward, you're better off just avoiding these little shits. When you finally get to Ignadon, you'll find that you cannot enter because the ANCAP asshats went and ruined it for everyone else by making a bunch of counterfeit identification cards. So to get around this, you have to go to the guys that make the counterfeits and get one of your own. And here's an example of what makes this game so fine. You could choose to give up the counterfeiters and make it so that none of them can ever get into the city ever again, which will make you trustworthy enough to enter the city, or you can use a card to enter and give your extra card to one of the outlaws who's currently trapped inside the city. Trapped inside the city because he doesn't have a card, and I honestly can't think of why this would work this way. You would think they would just deport their asses.
Where can I get an entry ID?
You can't. We're full. We're short of supplies. So the decision has come down to close the gates.
Wait, so you're short on supply and you're still keeping people in your city that you know are breaking the laws and taking advantage of you. The justification being that you don't want any one of them joining up with another and causing trouble. So what do you say to me, someone who might potentially be here to join up with the outlaws and cause trouble?
Say, there's a bunch of others who can't get in who've taken up residence in some houses near here. Why don't you join up with them?
Alright then. So I joined up with the counterfeiters and they asked me to go find that guy that makes the identification cards. He went up to a house to get a wank in and never came back, and when I get there I find the place is infested with mass rats. And these things are a pain in the ass at this level because they take forever to kill and offer little to anything as a reward for killing them.
Alright. I'm getting it. 10 experience points at a time.
Once I had the ID cards, I went back to turn in the mission.
Wick is dead, but I found the ID cards on his body.
Dead? Shit. I told him whatever was there wasn't worth the risk.
Bro, I gotta disagree with you. And by bleeding heart libs, I mean nothing like that. Have you ever heard of a suggestion
Big smart guy like you. Of course you have. But I'm talking about the kind that you give to a friend that's being a complete moron. I'm afraid to talk to women anymore because I'm afraid that if I talk to her, she's gonna call the cops. And it's like, okay, but has that happened to you before? Has someone called the cops on you just for starting a conversation up with them? Because, man, that has never happened to me in my entire life. I've gone through my entire life without having that happen. Not once. Not once.
No, it's true. It's true.
So you might be asking yourself, how do I suggest to this guy where he might have went wrong? You come up with this. You say, have you ever considered the idea that you might be an asshole? Like, if you can't get through a single dinner with your friends without at least one of them removing you from their Facebook, you might be an asshole. I'm not saying you are, okay? I'm not saying that at all.
I know what you're saying.
What I'm saying is, have you considered it as a possibility? You know, it's a hypothetical. A cleric suggester, on the other hand, is nothing like that at all. He's a guy that melts your brain with psionics. These guys, the clerics, they act like nice guys, but everything in me tells me they ain't too nice.
What is it you want? It's prayer time, so make it quick.
What is this place?
Here, we bring peace and honor to those who refuse Kalan. For only an honorable death can bring salvation. Only an honorable death can purify a tainted soul. And so, I bring honor to the souls who break Kalan's commandments.
I mean, look at that armor. It's red, bright red. They're always beating up on hippies. Guys getting taken to a camp to get interrogated and turned into a veggie plate. Their base is in a volcano. You know what I'm saying? In a volcano. I mean, this is obviously a Bond villain.
This is where you brainwash people.
No. You can't force people to change who they are. You can only bring out their better traits. That is what I do. I re-educate people.
Now, normally, I'm not for enhanced interrogation, but these outlaw guys, you can give them all you got.
Hey.
Do I know you? You see, I'm thinking, no, I don't know you. So, I'm asking myself where you saw the fucking sign that says, hey, talk to this guy.
These guys are fucking annoying.
You've done me a service, so I'll give you a valid ID. Just make sure you take this fake straight to Eric when you get inside, right?
Remember, when you serve the state will serve you, comrade.
Everyone is welcome here.
Unless you're not already from here, in which case, you can get the fuck out of here. So these cyber hillbillies have come down from their mountains and set up a town in this old fort and enclosed the whole thing in a massive energy shield to protect them from Alb air raids. And this place is unique because it houses every one of the other factions' rejects, you know, the people that they just threw away or threw out. And one of these factions is like, hey man, you know, I'm all for like equality and everything, but maybe we shouldn't have the enemy here, you know, the Albs. So all the dirtbags of Magalan are rounded up and put into a little concentrated area. Let's call it a camp. Like, if I were the Albs, that'd be the first thing I'd do. Send in spies to weaken the enemy from within. But what you gotta remember about these guys is that these were the ones that got thrown out of society, right? They're the failures, they're the rejects. So they're bound to have really shitty ideas. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
The game wants you to do. It's literally the only way that you're going to level up at a clip that's decent. Look, that guy just blew his fucking nose into his helmet. What a fucking dumbass. It's like one of 3 animations that people who are just standing around can do, and it's disgusting, and they do it constantly.
There are a ton of people you could talk to and a bunch of people who can give you missions, but being that this is a town where all 4 competing factions can be found in one place, everyone has an enemy, and everyone is focused on criticizing one another. Like this chick.
Even Albs are allowed in here. I think Albs would be perfect people if they weren't so emotionless. But then, that is why they are the only...
That's like their whole thing, is just being emotionless. They'd be perfect if it weren't for the only defining feature that they have.
And Arx, boy, Arx is a miserable bastard. He always has something ignorant to say.
No one is allowed into the city without an entry permit.
If you want in, let's kill him and go in. If not, let's go somewhere where there's at least one less asshole.
Damn, Arx. You gonna say that right in front of the man? Don't seem very smart.
Now, they say that Albs don't have any emotions, and that's a strength, but if being emotionless means being a dick, I'll pass. And everyone you talk to will help show you a different side of a faction you already thought you knew. Yet again, another strength of this game is the fully fleshed out world building, which is expanded on through stories the characters tell.
Tell me your story. How did you end up joining the clerics?
Right, I'll give you the full version. Well, the short version of the full version.
Just get on with it.
Get on with it.
Okay, I'll try to keep it short. My father and mother were both born berserkers, and so that meant I was too. But when I was about 12 years old, one of the warlords came to our home. He took my parents, and I was left on my own to survive in the city. I remember him. I remember my parents leaving. And I remember me screaming. But everything else is gone. It's just a blur.
See, that's why they left. They couldn't stand your screaming all the time.
And up to that point, I never thought about what the children of these cities went through because, well, PB didn't bother modeling them. So I just assumed these people procreated through osmosis or some shit. But her story puts it into perspective, and if PB had modeled children, there would have likely been a lot of orphans, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is the untold cost of exile that berserkers force on those that break the law or are simply accused of breaking. It's untold because PB didn't tell us, because they likely didn't have time to model and rig children. Or they just didn't feel like it. Or maybe they forgot what children look like. Maybe they've been working 16-hour shifts for so long that they forgot what sex was completely, not to mention what their children's faces look like.
She's got a nice little pooper on her.
It didn't take long for some Reavers to take me captive. And then, I don't want to talk about that.
She gets passed around like a Robitussin bottle at a Michael Jackson house party.
Once I talked to enough people and got an idea what was going on, I went back to the Amish and told Ragnar what I found out about Ignodon. But before I did, I went and paid a visit to the guy who lives in a tree at the center of town. Caldrum's in charge of the Mana Shrine, which is the place that berserkers use to convert ELEX into mana so they can make fireballs shoot from their fingertips. So while the Albs are addicted to rock, these guys are addicted to nectar, which I guess is just another word for fentanyl. Caldrum somehow divines that we're here at this Mana Shrine for a reason. Not just because we saw a guy in paladin armor and decided to talk to him. It's our addiction.
Is this a 5 o'clock free crack giveaway?
It's like we sniffed out that ELEX like a goddamn bloodhound and showed up to snort up all the rock.
Bye, Felicia. I was an alb, but I'm free from ELEX now.
Then you are an alb no more. It is ELEX that turns a man into an alb. Please understand, whatever feelings are new to you, every person faces that same struggle. It is the struggle Magellan suffers from, too. She is dosed with ELEX. She has it in her veins as you did. But Magellan does not suffer from temptation. You must feel the lure of ELEX to your bones. The power it offers. Resist it.
It's like a German trying to resist the lure of beer and sausage. We must resist the temptation to gack up a line off a pair of lederhosen.
So, how do you transform ELEX?
Transmute. We transmute ELEX. We place the ELEX in the Mana Shrine.
Put the ELEX in the fucking basket! Caldrum has a mission. He wants us to find his assistant who took off with a bunch of their mana and ELEX. But we'll get to that later. First, we want to talk to the head bitch in charge.
I brought you a report from another city. The people in the Dome City seem to want to remain neutral, but they are waiting to be attacked by the Alps. They know the war is coming.
I think they're short of supplies and feeling lost, leaderless. Thank you for your report.
Where can I buy armor like yours?
Ha! You can't simply buy a warlord's armor.
Not on the wages you people pay. Ragnar tells you that if you want to get better armor, then you'll need to help out around town as a cultivator first. And by help out around town, he means do almost every single side quest until you've exhausted them all. Some quests aren't worth doing for certain people because their word ain't worth nothing. And some quests allow you to fail them. If you fail them, Ragnar will be sure to remind you constantly.
I took care of Eardor.
Are there any problems?
None to speak of.
Tell me, why am I hearing only complaints from the cultivators? Could it have something to do with the food you took them? It'll be days before they're able to work at full capacity again. And sickness and diarrhea really aren't words you want to hear around food production.
And that's kind of the cool thing about these quests. Certain people aren't worth shit to other people. Like, they got this guy on the gate. You know why they got him on the gate? Because nobody likes him. Yeah, the guy who works the gate, he's always the first one to get shot by an arrow, you know what I mean?
Yes, Yes.
So you'll eventually have to hit up every single warlord in town. Angram's another one who gives you a quest to get an ELEX weapon from the town scrapper, but only after he tells you that ELEX weapons are forbidden, no matter who authorizes their use. You're supposed to come back to Angram empty-handed.
ELEX weapons are forbidden in Goliath.
They are. They are forbidden to all berserkers. It seems you listened and have learned our law. Go back empty-handed.
The point of this mission is pretty damn obvious. It's here to hammer into your head that you aren't supposed to use ELEX stuff under any circumstances, unless it's you, of course. Then you can do anything you want. Jetpacks? A friendly warning. Guns? No problem. Having a flying drone follow you around? Also not a big deal. You can have an alb as a best friend, following you around town, and no one will say a damn thing to you. So I guess what I'm saying is, the rules only apply to everyone else. As they should, I mean, I'm a pretty important guy. Now remember the warlord over by the big hollowed out tree? Well, that guy needed me to investigate a missing persons, so I did.
Last entry. First the ELEX devours him. Now it devours me. But I have no choice. Surely to steal is better than to kill. And we must both go into the mausoleum. Perhaps we can live in this house of the dead. Either this guy is reliving teenage poetry, or I just found out where he went.
Well... It's good that the writing is at least a little self-aware. I explored the ruins of this old apartment building, which now act as a throne room for Ragnar, and someone on the stream had the audacity to say that the setting for this game was lame. And then I ran across this. And there's a guy shitting on the toilet. He died mid-shit. And chat was forced to eat its own words. So in a journal I saw that whoever took off with the mana has set himself up in something he's called the mausoleum.
Well, I found Kral's diary.
Where did you find it? And does it tell you anything useful?
By the balcony of Ragnar's stronghold. Kral wrote about a mausoleum outside of Goliath. Maybe he went there.
Then he has picked the perfect place to hide. I don't know anyone who would go willing into that mausoleum to search for him. It is a place for the dead.
Never underestimate the power of a man who needs experience. So we got ourselves a mystery on our hands, gang. And it all seems to lead to a spooky funhouse complete with zombies.
And honestly, a lot of the missions are like this. And once you've driven through all the faction quests that are available to you, you'll be funneled into the main quest, which is where things get much less interesting. But before we talk about that, here's a friendly reminder that you're playing a Piranha Bytes game.
That...
I didn't understand why games do this shit when Skyrim did it, and I still don't understand it today. Don't put items that can be stolen right in front of someone I'm gonna be coming over to over and over again. I must have stolen that axe about 5 times. It's friggin' annoying. Again, how does this not get picked up in QA?
I need your support.
And why should we help you?
It seems like we're on the same side, Sestak. The Alps from Zakor tried to kill me. What do they think of you?
The enemy of my enemy is my friend?
Isn't the fact that they want us both dead and—
Hey, they got Sun Tzu in this world. That's nice.
This is a story that did not know how to end. If you separate the faction story from the main story, what you have is a plot that didn't have an interesting story. There's a lot of dicking around in this game, and we have to address that. So let's run through this plot on turbo mode. Jax eventually came across the Separatist, and this is where things grind to an absolute halt. The dialogue with this guy takes an entire 10 minutes. 10 minutes! It takes almost 5 minutes to convince Sestak that I'm not a spy. And that's fine. The game acts like there's stakes, but there isn't. And all this dialogue is all in service to giving you a new to-do list. Do you see a pattern yet? You will. Luckily, some of the Separatist missions are done when you join a faction. They act as checkpoints, essentially. But then you're told about a guy named Zardos. I mean Zardom. This guy has a plan to take out the hybrid, but he needs your help. And right away, this guy's lying to you, and you know it. He says he kicked the crack, but look at this ashy looking fucker. He ain't quit shit. You find out eventually that not only has he not quit, but he's also learned how to control mutants with his thinky thingy. He seems, however, completely incapable of controlling the sound mixing. It's nice, right? Like having 5 guys burp directly into a funnel jammed deep in your eardrum. How did ELEX arrive on Jax's planet? Well, a comet hit the planet, and instead of the planet going bye-bye, The comet said, "Hang on, honey, I'm almost there," and skeeted all kinds of this magic white stuff inside of it. And the ELEX started having baby ELEXs. This hybrid dude, he's here to get the Alves to the next stage of evolution. In order to do this, he must consume all of the ELEX that Magellan has available. So the Alves have started to gather ELEX and feed it to the hybrid. Their motto is, all ELEX to the hybrid. Now, IQ test time. Do you see a problem here? Pause the video and type in the comments what you see. The Alves still take ELEX. They're forced to. How can all the ELEX go to the hybrid if most of the ELEX is going to the soldiers? I know that I, personally, have killed about 100 of these guys, and they keep coming. That means they have a lot of soldiers, and that's a lot of ELEX not going to the hybrid, you know what I mean?
Yes!
I only bring this up because Zardom is talking about the hybrid eating all the Alves when the ELEX runs out, so they must still have some in them. The reason the Alves are so flat is because we don't get to know them. Every other faction is presented in a best of a bad situation kind of way. The Berserkers are trying to save the planet by healing it, but they exile their rejects to a suicide pit for wanting to use technology. The Clerics help the poor, then melt their brains if they screw up, and the Outlaws are just the worst. But the Alves, they don't seem to do anything good, and they're like the only faction that is completely black and white. Zardom gives us another laundry list. We have to kill an Alb that's tracking us.
So, then the rumors are true. Commander Jax, you're still alive.
A Lexeter Repox, I assume. You were nothing more than an ammunition carrier when I was still commander.
And now you're nothing.
I know you are, but what am I? I know you are, but what am I?
1 hour later.
I'm not dying until I've had answers.
Tolerate criminals.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh, watch out, bitch. He coming. Damn, get the... Oh my god, he already knocked the bitch down. That seems like Murder, She Wrote.
6 hours later.
I was on the other side of the fucking map, man! What the fuck you talking about, game?
And after you dealt with that, Zardom wants you to shut down a bunch of converters.
Oh, thanks, buddy. Shit, what the hell? Fuck, game. Will you though, bitch? I mean, will you? That motherfucker still hit me when I was on the other side of the fucking map. Shit, get the fuck out of there. Oh, come on, baby, come on, baby, come on, baby, get it. Fuck. Yo! Did it! Fucking did it! Oh shit! And that's why this game's combat is satisfying.
What?
Dude, what in the fuck?
Fuck you!
You tell him.
Be careful.
Yo, I'm fucking trying, but you know how the camera is. Even if you don't believe it.
I'll get him.
Yeah, alright. I'm on the other side of the fucking town, man. I was in California, and you were in Delaware. Jesus Christ.
Then he wants me to kill a bunch more Alves in the north, which, well, this is when I realized that melee was out and ranged weapons were in, because I don't think I could have killed all these guys the way they were clumped up together without using ranged. Keep in mind that the only reason you're doing all this is because Jax is trying to find the Cain to his Abel, who has retreated to the Ice Palace, and the Separatists and Zardom are supposed to help you get to him. This game overstays its welcome when it dwells on the story it chose to focus on. You're trying to find out why you were betrayed, but meanwhile, in the background, off screen essentially, there's supposedly a war being fought. We never see this war, but we're told it's there. And you know what's more interesting to me than a revenge story? War. Infinitely more interesting. Built-in human drama, you know what I mean?
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
Our job is to set up a town in the middle of Magaland where all of the political affiliations can come together and scream at one another about the shit they read on Facebook and how they heard the hybrid's wife is actually a dude and he needs all that ELEX to make amyl nitrate. Once you get to Origin, the town is already set up pretty much. You just come in and say it with me, do another laundry list of chores. Then you meet a hippie guy.
Just one seed of hope can grow a whole world. Welcome to Origin, stranger. I am Lloyd.
That seed of hope that he's talking about, it's just like this crusty napkin he has in his back pocket.
This is Lloyd, and he's the highest old man you've ever seen. He'll tell you that, gasp.
You are the one from my dreams.
One day there will come a person. Someone in our midst who can change the world from its very foundations up. And I believe that person has come to us here and now today. Let your weapons rest and draw new strength from our fire and our company.
A few moments later.
I see you step out of order here, I will have you put down.
If I really wanted information, I could beat it out of you.
Oh yeah? You think? I'll show you, you fucking spy.
The Berserkers
Got a block. I guess Kaya is helping a little bit. She's fucking up his pathfinding.
What else do you want here? Haven't you caused enough trouble?
Yeah.
I want to start over. We got off on the wrong foot. Let's forget about the past, all right?
Yes, you are a very warm and welcoming people for sure. Now, people in this game have a habit of saying things that'll pique your interest, but then you'll find out later that you're not allowed to expand upon any of that. See, he says, without all the lies that come with the other factions. But what does that mean exactly? Expand upon that. What lies do these factions tell? What lies belong to which factions? I mean, so much of this game has to do with the factions, and yet you say this without a hint of irony and without any explanation, and I'm not allowed to ask for more information either, and that's a big problem with this game. A lack of choice in dialogue. This game does the Mass Effect 3 school of dialogue where you pick one choice and watch your characters talk for 15 minutes and say a bunch of shit you don't want them to say.
I'm the person who can change the world.
I'm heroin addict Neo.
You are Jax, Alb Commander. He who left Zakor, who was said to be dead but is risen.
He is risen. Praise him. You will have no other gods beside me. No graven images of Jax, please.
And with that, the game has given up the ghost. It has died. It fell back, hoping to be caught by the loving embrace of an old RPG trope. But instead, the RPG pulled its arms away at the last minute, and the game fell back and cracked its head open on the concrete. And if all that weren't bad enough, you know how this story tells its story? Almost exclusively through flashbacks. I'm not kidding. Flashbacks. And insanely boring ones at that. They're boring because they have no bearing on what we're doing. The game's story is so friggin' weird. Let me ask you this. If I gave you a choice between two different games, one about saving the continent from an invading force of pale-faced psychopathic drug addicts by joining one of three factions and engaging in a war to weaken and eventually overthrow that faction, and later take over the continent, or a game that is about finding out why someone betrayed you and shot down your airplane, which one would you rather play? Trust me, I've played through this game like 3 times now, and I could say for a fact that each minute that these people spoke about what happened to Jax and who wanted him dead, I could literally feel the cells in my body dying. To make things even worse than that, you are constantly diverted from the main plot to engage in faction promotion quests, which frankly take up about half of the game's total runtime. So not only is the main plot uninteresting, but the game knows it, because it keeps pulling you away from it to engage in side activities that are almost always more interesting, but have next to nothing to do with the main plot whatsoever. At this point in the game, I took a break from the main quests and found refuge in the faction promotion quests, mostly killing Reavers. After I dispose of the Reavers, I head back to Thorgal for my reward, and you know what I get? 200 shards. God damn, life is cheap in this world. That ain't even enough for an ELEX drink. I can't get my lean on. I can't even hit that rock. What kind of game are these World Heart testicle farmers playing here? Another quest on our list is to kill outlaws in the Caravan Road. This is the first time, and really, probably the last time you'll fight another faction, and you may be thinking it matters, but it doesn't. The outlaws don't even bat an eye over it. In fact, you could teleport right in there anytime you want. No harm, no foul. And there's a lot of opportunities for role-playing here that just kind of go unused because, well, let's examine an obvious one. Let's start by asking a question. What if the outlaws do get pissed at you for killing like 30 of their men? What could you have done to prevent that? Well, you could have gone to the Duke and negotiated a surrender of the road, maybe get some use out of that charisma skill that has literally never been used in my entire playthrough, and if you didn't train it, maybe the Duke wants you to do something for him. You know, like the rest of the game. Maybe you have to bribe him with money. He likes money. Or if you so chose, you could have just said screw it and murdered them all. And if you did that, however, you wouldn't be able to recruit Nasty at the end of the game, and that, my friends, is the likely reason why this game didn't get much in the way of these kind of choices, because the game isn't about choice. It's about having 3 large factions with a ton of side quests and a story that outstayed its welcome last month. After all that faction stuff, you'll be tasked with another laundry list of shit to do. In order for Thorold, the guy who leads the faction that you spent hours grinding to get to the top of, he says he doesn't believe that you're not still an Alb. And tell me if you heard this one before. He needs you to prove your loyalty. Now you gotta go and shut down the remaining converters, which sounds a lot easier than it is because the final 2 converters are next to the Ice Palace and there's about 1 million of these robot whores guarding it. And I think that the level designers may have been in a rush because look at this shit.
Like, are they even still working on the damn thing? Oh my god, dude, come on. How fucking many of them are there? All the time. All the time. Oh, now there's Alb soldiers right there at the door. That's fair. Stop. Ooh. Oh my god, hit him like that, you know what I mean? So much for that auto aim, am I right? So much for that auto aim.
After you get down to the very last converter, you find out that the door to enter the place is locked. You don't know where the key is, and the mission log won't tell you. So let me tell you how you're supposed to find this key. You're supposed to give up finding the key. Yeah. You're just supposed to know that the key isn't hidden around somewhere around the converter, or just randomly placed on a corpse somewhere up north, or sitting in a chest in one of the converters you already turned off. You're supposed to, get this, do the final quest mission in this chapter where you consult the leader of the clerics on his war strategy, then run around to every warlord out there in the world, every leader of every other faction, and finally stumble onto the one chick nasty enough to go raw on the Albs and plug every one of their holes. Then recruit her to lead an army into the Alb base. And after genociding a couple hundred of these dudes, you're supposed to know that the key you need to enter the last converter is going to be on some random named Alb.
Why are you guys hitting me? What the fuck? Why is everyone hitting me now all of a sudden? What the fuck's going on here? Oh my god, this game is fucking dumb.
This mission would be perfectly clear to any normal guy with an IQ of 200. The logic in this game is out there, man. Like, way out there, like extra dimensions, dark matter, hidden to our limited sight kind of out there, man. You have to be thinking on an entirely different level to understand this game, friends. And I don't think your smooth brain is up to it. For some reason, you need your spacey ship to infiltrate the Alb base. So you spend a bunch of time getting parts for it from a mech off of Volcano Island, and after that, this guy wants you to go way down into the cellar of a very dank place to get a new reactor. And then you get a cutscene that you have to wait to start, just like every damn time you get one.
I'll need a lot of time to get her working again.
Dude, why do I have to sit here and watch this every fucking time?
Is the raider prepared to take off?
Yes, Commander. It was a last-minute order, but we have it done.
Good. I will need to leave immediately.
We had a problem with one of the thruster ports. It seems to have jammed.
Will that affect the mission?
It won't affect the handling, and someone would have to be a very good shot to hit it. Are you sure there's no time for a repair?
My orders are to leave immediately. Complete final preparations for takeoff.
Yes, Commander.
And keep in mind, this seemingly unrelated cutscene happened because I got a part from my raider.
It won't affect the handling, and someone would have to be a very good shot to hit it.
Why would someone say that? It's so unnatural. So what did that flashback show us? It showed us that Jack was going to fly off on a mission that the game opened with him flying to, and the repairman said,
and someone would have to be a very good shot to hit it.
That there's no way that they could get shot down except for a crack shot. And again, the fucking game showed us that in the opening cutscene. Why are you repeating so much information, game? Do you not trust me to understand your story? Because it's so goddamn deep and complicated that you have to keep repeating shit? You already showed us this. Then you go a little further into the dialogue with Duder Cakes, and this happens.
I'll get to work and install it now.
Some of them have taken to wearing the clothing of the free people. Why did they turn against the directive?
Probably because you're shooting them so hard they clip through the fucking terrain. Look. Look at what y'all did. Getting fucking tired of this. I gotta fucking say something about this shit. This game does not tell a story. This game tells a story in the very beginning of the game. The first hour or two of the fucking game. It tells a story. And that story is sort of interesting, and it draws you in. Once you've played like 10 hours of the game, you know the story. You know everything there is to know, and nothing new fucking comes up. Like, that's true. Nothing new that's interesting comes up. It's all about who shot down Jack's raider. Who the fuck cares? Really, who the fuck cares? You know where the real story is? You know where the real story is? The hybrid, the Albs, and the war between the factions. That's the real story. You know how much of the game actually takes fucking place in that? About 5 hours. I'm 40 hours into the fucking game. I've found out like next to nothing about the war. Any of that shit. Like, I know the basics. They don't like each other. Cool. Fuck it. Whatever. They have a differences of opinion. Cool. Can we get like anything deeper on that? Like, imagine if this game was just all about picking a faction and then helping that faction with their war against the other factions. Now that would be fucking hot shit. I would like that. As long as it was about actually participating in the goddamn war, I'd like it. But it isn't about that. It's not about any of that. It's about fucking nothing. Literally nothing. The game has so little story that it keeps repeating the same shit you learned in the first 10 hours of the game throughout the rest of the 40 fucking hours of the game. Oh, are they hunting down separatists? Why do I give two fucking shits about that? Why do I fucking care? Why is this an important flashback? What does this have to do with my fucking raider? I don't care. Dude, the fucking story is not about why Jax got betrayed. I'm sorry. It's not about that. I don't control these things. It's about the fucking war between the factions. But we don't do anything with that at all. Oh my god, instead it just keeps repeating shit you already know over and over and over and over and over again. This game is the story equivalent of some weirdo starting a conversation with you on a public bus, and then all of a sudden 2 hours fucking later you've missed your stop. You don't know how to stop the guy from fucking talking because he's a little crazy and he might flip out and hurt you and hurt everybody on the fucking bus. And right now you don't know if you listening to his crazy fucking story is the only thing that's keeping this dude from blowing this fucking bus up. You know what I'm saying? This story takes you fucking hostage and makes you listen to it. It makes you listen to it.
Well, no. Now, I'll tell you when I'm sure. I need some more time to check it over, all right?
You said the reactor coil needs replacing.
Yes! You just gave him the fucking reactor coil so that he can replace it. Why the fuck are we still talking about this? Why the fuck is this important?
Then I got to a point in the story where I had no idea how to move forward because I thought I had done everything to move forward and there was nothing left to do, so I went to see Zardom. And my main man was out scoring some rock and nowhere to be found. And then I realized there was a mission in my log that says I needed to find evidence that Zardom had my raider shot down. And wouldn't you know it, right out there in the open is a letter that Zardom had written to himself that was designed to remind him that Ray is a really good shot who should be capable of shooting down a raider.
Zardom used Ray to shoot down my raider.
And Calyx, wait a minute. Hold the fuck on. And Calyx just so happened to fucking be there to shoot me when I got out of the fucking raider? Just fucking wait a minute, man. Fuck you. Fuck you in your mouth, your ass, and your pussy. Okay, you got a guy named Ray. Zardom hires Ray to shoot down my raider. Ray shoots down my raider, and then Calyx just so happens to know where that fucking raider is going to fall. He knows the exact location, coordinates, and everything of where that raider is going to fucking fall when it falls. Because remember, the cutscene shows the raider hitting the ground, me getting out of the raider, taking off my helmet, and then immediately getting shot by fucking Calyx. Now, even if Calyx and Zardom had a plan together to make this conspiracy happen, how the fuck did Calyx know exactly where it was gonna fucking land? How could he have known that? How? There's too many fucking variables. Do you get what, this story is so fucking convoluted and stupid. And it didn't need to be this convoluted and stupid. But they focused on the wrong element of the story. They focused on why I was shot down. Does anyone in chat give a fuck why I was shot down? Raise your hand. New poll. New poll, Langolini. New poll. Does anybody give a shit about why Jax's raider was shot down? Does anybody sitting here waiting with bated breath like, oh my god, I can't wait to figure out why Jax got shot down. Oh my god, it's such a mystery. Holy shit, it's such a mystery. Like, why? Why would his brother shoot him down like that? And then shoot him in his chest? It just doesn't make any sense. He hasn't failed his mission yet, right? I mean, he just got shot down. How's that a failure? I don't understand. You know what I mean? Nobody is sitting around wondering why the least interesting part of this fucking story happened. Nobody. Nobody fucking cares.
After a super quick chat with my daddy, I go to confront Ray about, shooting me down, and he comes clean. And it turns out that Zardom kidnapped his brother to blackmail Ray into shooting me down because apparently Ray is the only one who can. The chosen one. The only one capable of shooting down my plane. And what did Zardom do? He turned his brother into a dog. Somehow. And then Jax does this.
Orion.
How did he do that? Shh. Don't ask questions. Next, I'm tasked with meeting up with my brother in our old tree fort.
But I was told that you were failing the hybrid.
Why does Calyx have a different voice right now? His voice used to sound a lot derpier than this.
Yet now, even the fact that you still breathe stands against the directive. Why did you come here, Jax? What did you expect to find?
My brother.
You appeal to me with emotion?
Okay, here's another thing this game does completely fucking wrong. This kind of exposition is perfectly fine. Like, this kind of exposition is perfectly fine. In fact, all of the exposition in this game is perfectly fine in context. It's not fine when the character does all the talking and I do none of it. I have no choice but to agree with whatever the character is fucking doing. Like, I don't know if Piranha Bytes knows this about RPGs, but RPGs are about role-playing a character. Usually a character that you create as the player. And it's really hard to create a player when the character is doing all the fucking talking. Literally all the fucking talking. You don't do any of it. You don't choose how you feel about any of this kind of stuff. Like, this guy's sitting here saying, oh, you're appealing to me for an emotion and shit. I haven't done anything. I'm just sitting here watching a goddamn cutscene. I haven't done shit. I'm just watching Jax talk to you. That's it. It's very passive. It's, you know, akin to watching a really bad movie. Like a really bad movie.
Have we yet to uncover. You take the promises of the future and serve without question.
I mean, I might as well not even fucking be here.
What does the hybrid tell you?
The game don't even need me. I'll be here when you need me, game.
The directive tells me you must die. What is dead should stay dead.
This game right here just had 10 minutes to do exposition, and it ends the exposition by spawning people in right behind me.
I'm sorry, but this game is nowhere near as responsive as it needs to be for you to be spawning guys right in behind me. So if you find a way to survive this, you find out that Calyx is boogied out and moved on down the old dusty trail, and you're now saddled with even more of this game to play. And about the ending of this game, well, let me tell you like this. It's a setup for a sequel, and if you know what the sequel's about, then you know what the ending of this game is about, and I don't need to tell you anything. Here's the only thing you need to know about this ending. It's this cutscene right here. Just watch. It's beautiful.
We're all dead. Are you sure you want to do this?
I'm not asking for volunteers.
Alright, see ya, Ray. Bye, fucking asshole.
You stupid son of a bitch. Good luck, Ray.
How do you not know he's just stealing it? He already shot you down once, man. How do you know he's just not stealing the fucking thing to get out of here? That's what I would do. I would get the hell out of here. How do you know that's not what he's doing, Jax? Oh my god, did you see the way it hit the fucking thing? Oh my god, dude, that's some funny shit.
That guy must have.
Oh my god.
Crazy.
Oh, that shit looked like a paper airplane hitting a wall, man. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That was fucking awesome. They didn't even take the time to get it to properly destroy itself. They just had it hit it and go boop and just fall down.
And this has been a long ass rant from Strat-Edgy, and now that you heard it, get the hell out of here.